Yes, guys, welcome to our today's session. Today we are going to move on. We're going to speak about chapter 7. Remember, guys, you heard already chapter 5 and 6 last week. And today we are going to carry on. We are going to do chapter 7, right? But the whole chapter will be talking about IPv6. Remember, guys, I told you that from chapter 5 or 6, we were speaking about DHCP, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, right? Remember, guys, when you do have your computer can get a manual IP where you as an administrator, you have to go to every computer or to every device and assign that IP manually, right? And your device can get an IP address automatically via a computer program or a protocol that we call DHCP, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. So when you see a device, so it can be like a tablet, it can be a phone, so it can be a computer. So any device that can get an IP address, we call it a host, right? That host, you can assign it an IP address in two different ways: manual way or static way, where you have to take the phone by yourself and punch that IP, or your tablet or your laptop, and where your phone can get it automatically via a computer program or a protocol that we call DHCP, right? But that DHCP, that computer program or that protocol must be enabled from one of the devices. So it can be like another computer, or it can be a router, right? So those devices will assign the IPs to other devices, right? So remember, we did it with IPv4. Now we're gonna do it with IPv6, right? So we discussed already how computers, how tablets, how phones can get those IP addresses automatically. But those IPs, remember, guys, was IPv4. We're discussing about IPv4. Now we are going to see how those devices, those hosts, can get an IP address, but that IP address will be IPv6, right? So to summarize, we discussed already how hosts or devices can get IP addresses, but those IP addresses was v4. Now we're gonna see how your computer can get like an IPv6 automatically. How your phone, how your tablet can get an IPv6, not IPv4. Now we're gonna talk about IPv6. So the whole idea for today's lesson, we are going to concentrate on IPv6, right? Now, so I'm gonna try to share my screen and we are going to move forward, right? Okay. So we're talking about IPv6 address, right? So, and remember, guys, why IPv6, right? Why those guys came up with IPv6, right? Because these days we do have billions of devices. You got cameras. Your cameras will require IP addresses. You got your phones, you got your tablets, you got your microwaves, you got your fridge, you got your TVs, right? So you need billions, right? Before we're using IPv4, right? So depletion of what? Of IPv4, right? So because of this, they came up with what? So IPv6, because with IPv4, we got only billions. But with IPv6, we got undecillions, right? So IPv6 will come with more IPs than IPv4. So the main reason of coming with this IPv6, so it's because IPv4 are almost done. They're almost finished, right? New devices required also what? IP addresses. Where are you going to get them, right? So we need a way to get new IPs by using the IPv6, right? But first, what I'm going to do, so I'm going to go to packet tracer, right? Let's go first to packet tracer. So I will drag and drop maybe 2 pieces, or maybe I can take 3, and maybe I can take a switch here, right? You can connect like anywhere, right? Okay, those are my computers, right? What I want, so I will check my IPv6, right? So on these particular 3 computers, right? You can only go like here, you go to desktop, you go to IP, you can check here IPv6, right? From IP config to IPv6 configurations, right? You can see there is one of the IP here, link local address, right? So as you know, guys, computers can get their own IPs by default, the automatic private IP. So, and computers can use those IPs to communicate, right? So every computer can get an automatic IP by default without you, an administrator, doing the configurations, without even a DHCP server, right? So by default, a computer can get so an IPv6. So we call it what? Link local address, right? So this is a link local address for which computer? For this computer. So you're gonna see it always starts by what? By FE80. When you go to the second computer, you go to desktop, you go to IP config, you're gonna see there is a link local address. So this is an automatic IPv6, right? You're gonna see it's always start by what? By FE80. When you go also on this one, so you can see also there is a link local address. So like in summary, when you connect, you run your cables, you connect your computers, right? By default, your computers can get an IPv6, right? By default. So we call that IP link local address. And that IP will always start with what? FE80, right? FE80. Computers can use that link local address to communicate without even you doing the configurations. So computers by themselves, they can use that link local address to communicate, right? Let's try to verify it, right? So I can try to, so I'm gonna copy this IP, right? So I'm gonna go to the next computer, right? So I will try to ping that other computer using its its link local IP, right? Yeah, you can see what? There is a reply. right? So you can also go here, just copy the link local address. When you go to this one, you can ping, and you press what? Yeah, there's a reply. So shortly, computers can communicate by using the link local address. What is a link local address? This is the IPv6 address given automatically by the computer, by itself, right? So you can also do this, right? Suppose like I have a router here. There is one of the router here. I got maybe one computer here and one laptop, right? And maybe there's a switch here. You can connect wherever you like. Right? Before even doing the configurations, right? Because you know already that by default, every computer will have what? A default IPv6, that link local address. So by default, my computers, like in my network, can have their own IP, what we call the link local, or the automatic IPv6, right? And computers can use it in order to communicate, right? Let's try it. So I'm gonna go to my desktop. So I'm gonna copy my link local address, right? When you go here, so I can try to ping. Yeah, so you're gonna see there is a reply, right? Before even doing the configurations here, computers, they can use their link local address to do what? To communicate, right? But how the link local will be created? Link local will be created by using what? Computer's MAC address. So for every computer, there is a part that will show the MAC address of that computer, right? So let me first check MAC addresses of every computer. So you can go like on this desktop, ipconfig space /all, right? So ipconfig space /all. Oh, I typed the wrong one. Space all. I'm too fast. Yes. Right? Yeah. You can see that my MAC address for my desktop is this one. This is my MAC address, my physical address. All right. But you can see my link local, it's here. This is my link local, my automatic IP, right? My IPv6 automatic IPs. So we call it what? Link local, right? So my IP is here. But you're gonna see that there is this FE80. So this shows like this IP is a link local. So this number here, this FE80 shows like it's a link local, right? But you can see here, my MAC address got what? This part, ED1.3502. You can see it here also, right? You can see that there is what? There is this part remaining, this one, right? So when you come here, you're gonna see it's here, right? So a link local address will have a part of the computer's MAC address. So a link local will be created by using what? Computer's MAC address. So if I have two computers here, so I wanna use those two computers. So I wanna check the connectivity between those two computers using the link local address. Every computer will create its own link local address by using what? Its MAC address. So that link local address will have some letters and numbers from the MAC address, right? I can stop sharing. So guys, today's lesson, we are focalizing on IPv6, right? So I will show you how IPv6 can be used by computers, right? But as I said, so I'm starting from the beginning, right? From the beginning, what you have to understand is this. When I have like two computers, there is one computer here and another computer here. You connect those two computers. Those two computers, they can communicate by using the default IP or the automatic IP, right? Those computers, they will have their own IPs. But we are talking about the version 6, IPv6. That IPv6, you can also call it what? Link local, right? So because they are going to get those IPs from that link, right? So that IPv6, we can call that IPv6 link local address. But how the computers will get those IPv6 link local? They are going to get those IPs by using their own MAC address. So for every IPv6 from your computer, there are going to be some numbers and letters that will come from the MAC address of your own computer. So if you got your tablet will have its own IPv6, right? IPv6 link local. That IPv6 link local will be created, will be formed by using your tablet's MAC address, right? So the link local address, the automatic IP that computers will use, will come also from what? From the MAC address, from the physical address, right? So, and I showed you how you can use the link local address to establish the communications between computers, right? Okay. Yeah. Now here, guys, you got an exercise, right? Link local. Yeah. Now we're going to talk about what we call private IP, right? So private IP, those are the IPs that you can use, but those IP, they are private, means that you cannot use those IPs to connect to the internet, right? Remember for IPv4, when we are talking about a private IP, so it's an IP address that you cannot use when you want to connect your network to the internet, right? And when we are talking about this private IP, for IP version 6, we call it what? Unique local. So unique local means an IPv6 that I can use only inside my company. I cannot use it when I want to connect to the internet, when I want to connect my computers to the internet. So I cannot use a private IP. I cannot use a unique local. So, and how to identify that I'm using a unique local? This number, FC, or sometimes also FD, right? So if your IP starts with FC00, means it what? It's a private IP. Or maybe it can also start with what? With FD, right? This FD also shows like it's a private IP or unique local. It's private IP, it's when we're using IPv4. But in IPv6, we call it a unique local, right? So private IPv4, unique local, it's the same name or same concept, but for what? For IPv6, right? And unique local is not routable. Not routable. Not routable means it cannot be connected to the internet, right? So unique local, this IPv6 that we call unique local is not routable. Means you cannot use that IP to be connected to the internet. And that IPv6 will start with what? FC or FD, right? Okay, let's try to do some exercises here. Okay, let me see. Okay. What I'm gonna do, so I'm gonna just drag and drop maybe 3 computers. Maybe I will need a switch. All right. You can connect wherever you like. There is no problem. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm going to assign those computers a private IP. Remember that because we are using IPv6, we don't call it private IP. We call it unique local, all right? And that unique local or private IP will start with FC or FD, right? So I'm gonna go to my first computer, my IP, so I can give it what? So I can say FC 00 .2, and I'm gonna use /3 for subnet mask. And I'm gonna go to this one. So I'm gonna make it short. FC 002. Let me see first what I put it here. Yeah. There it's 3, I think so. Oh, what happened? FC 003. Yes. And here so I can do. It's gonna be FC 004. And I can try to ping, right? You can try to ping. It's FC 2. Yeah. So you can see there is a reply, right? So I'm using like a short form of this IPv6, right? You can see there is a reply, right? /3, that 3, it's the subnet mask, right? So this is how you can do it, right? But you can also use the long form, right? Like this one, right? But link local, okay. We are here, right? You can also check your IP. You can just go there, /all. Oh, I'm always I like the shortcut, /all. Yeah. You can see that this is my IPv6. This is my MAC address. So, and this is my link local, right? So guys, what you have to understand is this. We are talking about private IP, all right? Private IP is not routable. Not routable means you cannot use it in order to be connected to the internet. Like you have your company, you got your computers, you can choose your own IP, but that IP is private. But if you go for IPv6, we call it unique local. But how that unique local or that IPv6 unique local looks like? It's gonna start with FC or FD, right? Now, You can use it to connect your computers, but you cannot use it when you want to connect to the internet, right? You can use it only like inside your network. That's why we call it a private. But for IPv6, we call it unique local. The most important for you guys, you must understand that private IP or unique local for IPv6 will start with FC or FD. Link local address will start with FE80, right? We can proceed. Okay. So you got some exercises here that you have to submit, guys. The exercise number 1, you got 2 computers. You got your private IP and your private IP one side, right? You have to configure this for me. And the exercise number 2, you got 4 computers, and those four computers will use also what? Private IP. Now we're gonna talk about the exercise number 3. We're gonna have a switch and 4 computers. That switch, we're gonna assign it an IP address, but from the virtual interface, because the switch cannot get an IP address. But you can assign it by using what? The virtual interface, right? So we're gonna do it. I'm gonna just do like an exercise here. Yeah, you have your switch. So what I'm gonna do, you go to your switch, you go to CLI, enable, configure VLAN, interface VLAN 1. Now let me respond. So okay, guys, I got a recording like to do. Yes. Yeah. Sorry guys, so I have a meeting, so I will send the next recording later.